And so, away we go, with what will now be the start of what will arguably be the longest game I will have ever played on this channel, as we are now beginning Gran Turismo 4, and we begin by heading over to the license centre. So we have a total of 5 licenses to do here. We've obviously got the National B license, the National A license, the International B license, along with the International A license, and of course the Special license, or as most people would prefer to call it, the Super license. So let's start off with the National B license, as we have a total of 16 regular lessons to get through here, including a coffee break once we reach the halfway point of the license, and these do appear in every license. So we have a total, excluding the coffee breaks, of doing 80 lessons in the license centre altogether, and with all 5 coffee breaks we do technically get a total in the end of potentially 85 gold trophies to claim here. And we might as well start somewhere, as we will be starting off with, as I am showing you all of these briefly. But let's begin, as we start off once again with a Mazda DEMIO, as we begin at test course for our first 2 lessons of the license centre. And, well, I'm not going to read through this whole description because, well, personally I think these descriptions are a bit too long for me to read through, but I am of course slowly scrolling through them so you can read them at your own time. Okay, let's go. I think I've given you enough time to analyse the information, so let's actually get on with the lesson now, as we begin with a blue Mazda DEMIO. And immediately I'm not even close. Okay, let's try this again and see if we can get... Let's try this again and see if we can actually get at least 4 tenths faster. Well, 4.5 tenths faster to be more specific. Okay. And just like that, on only my second attempt, I go from a bronze to a gold. I don't really care for records. I'm basically just here to, more or less, go for the gold. But either way, only 2 attempts and already my first gold. So let's now move on to our next test, which basically means we'll pretty much be doing the same test again, except for saying that this time we are doing 200 meters instead of 100. And the car we are driving this time is a Mitsubishi 3000 GT. Which also technically means we're going to have to brake earlier than we did before. But anyway, yeah, you know, scrolling through the description, hopefully you had enough time to process the information. I am trying to make this about as all-encompassing as I can be, because as I said before, this game has a whole lot of shit. And some of it probably isn't even worth explaining. I was so close to the gold on my first attempt. So let's try this again. I'm not going to be showing this every time, where on my first attempt I get the silver, but then on my second attempt, or however many attempts it is, I then wind up getting the gold. and I went nearly 2/10 faster as a result of me braking earlier. But there we go, 5 minutes in and already I have 2 golds. But we still have another 15 golds to go. So, 2 tests down, and we still have another 14 plus the coffee break to go. As we now head over to Deep Forest Raceway at the first hairpin, and where the car we are driving is a Honda CRX Del Sol. And one other thing that is rather annoying with some of these tests is knowing that you have to deal with the active stability management being locked on. Because during that time, there was no way to physically turn that off during license tests. And as much as I find it annoying, I also have to accept that they do hold their purpose, because it adds the element of challenge. As much as I personally hate it, I still have to work with it nonetheless. And if that's what it takes for me to get the gold, then so be it. But either way, let's actually get through lesson number 3. And there is a trick here to getting the launch right. You just need to make sure that your RPMs are not too high or too low, so you don't bog down on the start when you launch. And you've also got to make sure that you control more on the movements of the car than to try and see if you can manage to more or less, master it. And hey, I got this one on the gold first try. Probably because I just felt so laid back. But either way, there we go. 2 lessons later, and on my 3rd lesson, I wind up getting the gold first try. Hopefully that will not be the last. As a matter of fact, I probably know it will not be the last, because some of these lessons are actually quite easy to get the gold, but other ones are harder than others. So now that we have done turn 1 of Deep Forest Raceway in a front-wheel drive car, we are now doing it in a rear-wheel drive car. Which means that, aside from us having to cope with understeer in the corner, this time we are coping with oversteer. And if you want to know what oversteer is, then well, just read this description I'm slowly scrolling down for you to read. As I said before, you can read it in your own time, and whatever the hell else works for you. Okay, I think that's enough time now, so let's begin lesson 4, as we are now driving a Nissan Silvia S14. Let's see how we go. Hopefully we can go well. But it just depends on knowing if I can put together the magic. But we'll wait and see. Looking good so far, and yes, I do. Gold first try, baby! For 2 straight lessons. That's awesome. In fact, it's so awesome, I think I'm now going to save the replay for this. Because I want to. Also because, well, it's a Nissan Silvia. And I'm going to be saving these file names with... I'll probably just put EP on one side, and then I'll just put the number on the other side, just so it makes sense over what files it is I'm recording here. But either way, I thought that run was so good I figured it was worthy of me saving it. But there we go. It might also help to say that I do have prior experience with some of these lessons. But either way, there we go. We are now a quarter of the way there with the B license. And something else that we get that's new is more one-lap time trials. So basically, to start with, we are doing one lap around Tsukuba circuit, and the car we are driving to start with is a relatively low-powered Mini 1. And we are basically just doing one lap around the track, and we have to make sure that we stay on track, and also to not overtake the pace car in front of us, because if we do, then well, it means we fail. And of course, if you go off track, then that also means you fail. The first time we actually get to see the pace car in this game, and later on in the game you can also win it as a prize car. But either way, that's going to be something for later on. Now, we must focus on our one lap run, and see how long it takes for us to eventually get fast enough to reach the gold. Let's see. I am closer than I thought I was. I'm only 2/10 away from the gold. And now that means I need a sip of water before continuing this. I think it's fair to say that the final sector of this lap, in other words, Sector 3, is pretty much going to be where I gain most of my time at the end. And it's obvious to say that's going to be the most crucial section of them all. Just depends on knowing if I can manage to put together something that'll work for this run. Because I'm only 300ths off scoring the gold now. And I reckon I have got a chance. I have also learned that upshifting heading into this corner, it does actually work if you need to gain time. And that's precisely what I more or less need to do. Because you technically gain more speed heading into the entrance of hairpin 3. And it might also provide you with enough bite to potentially get through the corner as well. And this time we do it. With a 127.17. That's now 5 golds on the board. So there we are, 5 lessons down, and still 11 lessons, plus the coffee break, to go. And of course, if you were paying attention earlier on, you will know that I've already saved a replay, because I'd saved that before I did the lap. And now we are back at test course again, as this time we are now braking in the goal area from 500 meters, as this time we are driving a Renault Megane for this test. Hopefully I am giving you enough time to read through the description. Okay, let's actually get on with the lesson now. So, a 22.6 is what we need for a gold here. And well, I'm basically just going flat out with the revs. because I have found out that you can actually gain some time by doing this. Well, it looks like this is probably going to be where the struggle officially begins, because I'm having a lot of trouble trying to just get a pattern established here. And this time I do get it established, even though I did have to jerk the car to the right in order to actually get it done this time. But got there this time at least. I might actually consider saving a replay with the Renault now that I think about it. Actually, on second thoughts, I might actually overwrite the replay I saved before, because no one has actually thought about getting a thumbnail to open up this game with the Renault Megane, from what I know. I think I'll actually make this one my official thumbnail piece for the license, because why not? Okay, overwritten. We now have the Renault Megane as our thumbnail car. Alright, 6 tests down and still 10 to go plus the coffee break. As our next one, I think, is going to be with the Dodge Viper. And yes, it is. And this is our 4th and final starting and stopping test. As this time, we are now trying to reach the stopping area from 1,000 meters away. And it is fair to say that we need to brake way earlier with this car than what we have been with all our other cars that we've been using. But either way, let's get going. As a 26.7 is what we need for a gold. So let's see how we go. And see if we can eventually establish ourselves getting the gold here. But I do have an idea of what it is that needs to be done. Okay, I think it's about here where we need to start braking. Okay, it's probably a little too early there. But either way, we still get the silver. So let's now try again and see if we can go 0.8 up on our previous run. Okay, that's pretty much what we need to do now. I am so close to reaching the gold now. I am literally knocking on the door of the gold now. And this time we get it. This time, jerking my car to the left whilst I was on the brakes. And this time we actually get it done. I was literally knocking on the door of reaching the gold, and then that time around, as I would have suspected, I actually managed to gain the perfect amount of allotted time for me to get well within the gold area. And that's precisely what I did. So that's our test with the Dodge Viper GTS now done. Let's now move on to another hairpin turn, except for saying this time we are heading to Twin Ring Motegi, and where we are this time driving a Mazda MX-5. And also scrolling through the information area, because, well, if you want to read through that at your own time, then as ever, be my guest. So this is now the halfway point of our lessons. Let's see how long this takes us. It's probably going to take me a few tries to at least get it right. Well, at least I came close. We just gotta find less than a tenth now to reach the gold. Okay, just a little bit tighter through the corner, and then I think we should have it. And this time we do. We have the gold by just over 0.08 of a second. And I did it using my sunshine yellow Mazda MX-5. We are now halfway there with the B license lessons. And what that now means is we can now move on to the coffee break, where we will be driving a Daihatsu Copen. And there is a way to do this. It'll just take me a few tries to remember what that is. But there is a straight shot you can take through the cones that will succeed you if you want to get the gold. It might be difficult to spot at first, but then once you really get a pattern going and you're just able to slot through there straight as a needle, then you will eventually get the gold. It's actually pretty easy from what I know, but just depends on knowing if I can remember what that route is. Okay, here we go. Coffee break time. Let's see if we can actually get this beaten. I hope to say. I just slotted straight through there, and then, as amazing as it might have been, I literally got the gold, just like that. I basically just went straight, and then, in a very ironic twist of fate, as a result of me just going for that finish line marker, I actually got the gold. I'm also pretty sure we do get a gold coffee cup as a result of us achieving that. I think that's what it is if I recall correctly. Anyway, doing the same test as we did before with the Mazda, except for saying this time we are using a BMW M3 CSL around this hairpin at Twin Ring Motegi. And slowly reading through the description, because, well, I'm patient that way. Some of you probably won't be bothered to read through this, but to those of you who are, that's pretty much a full description. Okay, let's go. I'm at least patient enough to spare you that, if you want to know something about me. And not even close. Okay. Let's try and see if we can find 0.7. Come on, come on. I don't have all day, you know. Can I please get the gold this time? I think I just might. And I do. I get it by just under 0.7. But there we go. So that's now 9 tests down, and we still have another 7 to go. As we now get to move on to our second 1 lap guide run, as this time we are heading to Laguna Seca, driving a Citroën C3, I think is what this is. It's either a C2 or a C3. I'm pretty sure it's a C3. And giving you information, description as always. Okay, let's actually get on with this. So 2 minutes 14 is the gold time. I don't think that's going to be too hard to get, because I've pretty much driven thousands of laps around Laguna Seca. I very much know my way around this track. Right. Let's actually see if we can go through turn 3 this time. Sorry, turn 2 this time without getting caught out by the understeer, like we have been twice before. Okay, on the brakes a bit earlier this time, because I don't want to overshoot the corner. I'm also pretty sure this is technically the only license test in this game to have Laguna Seca, if I recall correctly. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is the only test in this game that features Laguna Seca in terms of license tests, for which it appeared on a multitude of tests in both Gran Turismo 2 and Gran Turismo 3. I'm pretty sure this is the first and only time, in GT4 at least, that we drive around any part of Laguna Seca. I could be wrong about this, but I think this is our first and only time, as I almost got caught out there by the corkscrew, but managed to keep my car in check. And since I'm pretty much going hell for leather here, I honestly would not be surprised if I'm only going to be a matter of tenths away from the gold. Because I'm practically hell-bent on delivering this lap and making sure that it works somehow. It's going to be close, but I think we're there. Oh yeah, we're definitely there. We get the gold first try, well, first completed try by less than a second. And there we go. Also, I've now been recording this for 52 minutes, and we've only done 10 of the 16 tests. But anyway, there we go. So, because I pretty much went hell for leather on that 1 lap guide run, that was the reason why I got the gold. And now we move on to test number 11, where this time we are driving a Toyota Celica GT4, if I'm not mistaken. We're driving one of the 4-wheel drive iterations, if you're asking. Anyway, here's your description. Read it at your own time if you want. Okay, let's actually see if we can go and get the gold, which is a 17.65 that we need. Not really saying the other targets because, well, they're on the right-hand side if you want to know what they are. And already things are not going very well, and I barely miss out on the silver. Okay, let's try again. Okay. I am now just 1.5 tenths away from the gold. And this time, I get the gold by 0.02 of a second. And what's even more amazing is, I did that cleanly. I put together a clean run, and I did not have to cheat to get there. Because there were times in the past where I literally had to use the outside wall to get there, but not this time. I did it cleanly. Which is what a lot of sim racers, with the amount of experience I have, are pretty much supposed to do. But anyway. 11 tests down, and we still have 5 tests to go. This is going to be at least an hour in length from what I can see. As this time we're now driving a Peugeot 205 at Swiss Alps. A course which first appeared in... I'm trying to remember. I don't really remember. Someone might tell me in the comments what appearances Swiss Alps made in the GT series. But obviously just scrolling through the description as always. Okay, let's go. I'm not doing it quite as slowly as I was before. So, you know. And immediately I go into the wall. This is not gonna work. I'm gonna restart right before I fail. I think that should work. Let's see what it does. Oh, it definitely worked. I basically just went deep into the corner, scrubbed off a little speed, well, a lot of speed in my case, and then suddenly I wound up getting the gold by nearly 2 tenths. That was extraordinary. There's no doubts in my mind over just how extraordinary that was. Anyway. 12 tests down, as we have now driven both of the rally cars we can drive in the B license, and now we move on to test 13, where this time we are driving a Fiat. And as ever, scrolling through the description, and now let's go. By the way, if you want to know how precisely to get the driving line turned on, well, you basically just need to push down R3 and then the driving line will appear. That's pretty much how you do it. And I'm going to be off. Okay. I've now been recording this for an hour. Okay, well, I almost made it on that first attempt. And what do you know, the sun has actually come out outside my house for once. Anyway, I think we've got it this time. And yes, we do. We definitely got it. Took me a few tries to get there, but we made it work. As we succeeded in our Fiat Barchetta Giovane, is it? I'd have to look back at the model afterwards to know just what model it is, but I think it's a Fiat Barchetta if I'm not mistaken. Anyway. We have just 3 lessons to go, as we now head over to one of the many new tracks added to this game, and that is El Capitan, which I think is located in Yosemite National Park, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure these roads do exist, but unfortunately they've never been used as a racing venue, from what I know. It's just one of those fictional circuits that exists in a real area. Let's see how long it takes for us to get to the gold. Okay. So we've got to find nearly 3/10. So we're slowly working our way forwards. I am, of course, willing to be about as bellicose as ever in my urge to make sure that I do get this cleanly, and this time I do get it cleanly. And I'm making sure to keep this as clean as possible. So that's now 14 of our 16 tests now done. It's honestly crazy to think that there was actually one time in the GT series where you actually had to do as many as 16 tests. I'm also pretty sure that up until a recent GT7 update, this game technically did have the most license tests in a single GT game, with a total of 85, until a Spec 2 update for GT7 ultimately increased that number of license tests from 50 to 100, and I'm pretty sure that is the most license tests you can do in a single GT game now. But this game, for the longest time, did hold that record, up until that Spec 2 update in GT7 was added, you know, with the master license thingy. Anyway, here we are now at Infineon Raceway, also known as Sonoma Raceway. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, that first attempt did not just happen. I'm instead focusing on this attempt, because I did not even make it through turn 2 to make it a valid run. But one fun thing about Infineon Raceway, or Sonoma Raceway as it's now called, is that this course basically made its way onto the NASCAR schedule in 1989, following the closure of one of NASCAR's most dangerous tracks, that being Riverside Raceway, which had proven to have more or less run its course by the late 80s, even though it technically was a fan favourite for fans and drivers alike. And I do also believe that it was technically Rusty Wallace who won the very last NASCAR race that was held at Riverside in 1988. And then this course basically came along the following year, and I do believe its first winner was Ricky Rudd, who technically won the very first race here driving a Buick Regal, I think, is what it was. I almost ran into the sand there. One other thing I should mention about Sonoma is knowing that this course is literally in wine country. And I'm not referring to Argentina when I say wine country. I refer to America's wine country, California. And I got the gold by over half a second. Because once again I just went hell for leather on the lap, and proving to me at least why experience makes all the difference. But anyway, there we go. And now we get to move on to the final test, which takes place at Tsukuba Circuit, and where we will be driving a BMW 1 Series for our final test. And where after this we will get 3 prize cars. So here we are, the graduation test for the National B license, defeating the infield section of the Tsukuba circuit. That's all you're gonna get from me in terms of words. I'm just gonna scroll through the rest. But anyway, yeah, so you know. And as I said before, we are driving a BMW 1 Series for our final test. So let's see how we go. Hopefully we can go well enough to at least set ourselves a time that's passable. But we'll wait and see. This is probably going to take me a few tries before I get it right anyway. Okay, so 24.1. Let's now see if we can set a 23.6. Okay, looks like we might be just far enough ahead now. Okay, we got it this time. We got a 23.6, baby! And it only took me 1 hour and 18 minutes to get through all those tests. But there we go. That's all of them. And I have already saved a replay, so no need to worry about that. But there we go. We've done it. All gold in the B license. And that now means we get our license as well as our very first cars of the game by winning them. So, for passing all of the tests, we get our B license certificate, which is pretty cool. I'm also pretty sure that's the Tsukuba circuit hairpin we just ran through. And for getting all bronze, we get the Volkswagen Lupo 1.4 from 2002. And for getting all silver, we unlock the Mazda Kusabi. Very nice. And now, for getting all gold, we unlock the Honda S500. Also, I can't tell if that's meant to be turquoise or white, but something tells me it's turquoise. But either way, there we go. Those are our prize cars for beating the B license with all gold. And just to check, yeah, I was right. Yeah, it was a Fiat Barchetta. But anyway, yeah. So, all gold with all of the tests, and also a gold coffee mug as well, after I just sent it. But anyway, there we go. The B license is now passed, and next time we will be doing the A license, as we have now unlocked Deep Forest Raceway in the arcade mode. I think that's also the first track we've technically unlocked that we can now use in arcade mode. But anyway, there we go. So, after 20 days of trying, we have officially made it through all of the license tests. And now, we have got the B license. So let's go and check out our cars. So for all bronze, we unlock this yellow VW Lupo. Officially the first car that we win from this game, as I am giving you an all-around shot of this thing, because I like showcasing my cars. And for getting all silver, we get this, ironically, silver Mazda Kusabi, which is also a pretty cool car in my opinion, and definitely a car I may consider using at some point, because that's how much I like it. So yeah, there is that. And finally, for all gold, oh, it's elephant grey, apparently, is what the colour is. We get this Honda S500 from 1963. And now, I'm going to switch over to the Lupo, because I want to at least showcase that I am now using a car. So there we go. And now we shall save the game. But there we go. So 82 minutes later, that was the National B license. And next time we will be doing the National A license. Coming in the next episode of Gran Turismo 4.